Can you hear me okay? I would like you to sit up straight, put away the phone for a second, and make eye contact with me. And you look in my eyes, and we close our eyes together. And I want you to imagine your first childhood memory and the person you connected with. Create that image. Now open your eyes again and raise your hand if it was your father, your mother. For me, it was my grandmother. And actually, I didn't want to give this talk. You know, when you're on stage, you have to shine, you have to be energetic. I don't feel that way. My grandmother had corona over Christmas. She was struggling with long COVID afterwards, fell, came to the hospital, and I haven't slept the last 2 days because I'm worried. But TEDx is about ideas worth spreading. And I thought about my grandmother and decided to come today. She finished this talk like 30 minutes before. Because I think the idea I want to share with you changed my life, and maybe it can change yours. I'm Vincent. I'm born into a family of 4 generations of doctors, the black sheep, like my grandmother points out. As you heard, I built several startups, started with 18, finished 2 masters, which is a miracle because I studied 6 different subjects, and was actually getting into my PhD in psychology when I got distracted to found a university for refugees. We helped 70,000 people getting into higher education, and our first seed funding came from the bouncer of Berghain. So a true Berlin story. I'm also a certified dance teacher. I competed in swimming. I played in an orchestra accordion, and I peaked as a graffiti artist in 2014 when I made it into the Guinness World Record book as part of the longest female painting, or only female artist painting ever. They called me in by accident. I thought nothing more to achieve after that. When you hear that, the sentence, I'm Vincent and I have ADHD, sounds natural, right? But I found out about it only 2 years ago. And despite all these milestones and this, what some people describe as success, it never felt that way for me. It always felt I was not using my potential, I was failing in life, I was falling behind. Every small step, like finding an apartment in Berlin, took so much energy. And I was almost about to give up and say, all these people who see all these things in me, they're wrong. And then I learned about ADHD and realized I'm not alone. Leonardo da Vinci, who was the name pertinent to this talk, made one of the most iconic arts in humankind, but he was also struggling, pursuing over 500 projects in parallel. And he felt, on record, as he has failed life. I choose this example because it's a great memory what neurodiversity, what some people can achieve and inspire in us. Now I want to find out if we have another Leonardo da Vinci here in the room. So a second small exercise. You make eye contact again, and you close your eyes. And you go in your mind to your laptop, you open it, and you look at the browsing history of yesterday. Don't worry, boys, nobody can read your mind. And count for how many tabs you have opened during that day. Maybe how much you open on average. Now open your eyes again. This is mine. So who will think he has more than 30 tabs open on a routine day? It's an 80% chance that you are neurodiverse. Neurodiversity affects 5 to 10% of the people. That's 500 million people worldwide. But as you could already see here in the room, the percentage here is much higher. What does it actually mean? It's a too low level of dopamine that is causing us to always seek the new and interesting. So our brain has struggling to focus and maintain attention. Everyone thinks of this hyperactive kid in school when I speak about ADHD, but actually it runs predominantly in adults. It comes in many different forms and types, and especially in girls and women, it's highly undiagnosed. It means 80% of the people are not aware of their neurodiversity. And this is a problem, because untreated, it can solve many comorbidities. It's like a candle burning on both sides. We just heard in our previous talks about change agents, people who stand out, who fight for something, very often associated with that. And on average, they lose 12 years of quality lifetime. Why Berlin is such a perfect place to speak about that? Because if you think of your normal subway drive, you could always tell it's Berlin. You would never confuse that picture with New York or Munich or whatever. And you can see there's the Prenzlauer Berg hipster, there's the Kreuzberg hipster. It's always a hipster, but it's always Berlin. And likewise, you have different groups who are attracted, especially to capitals like Berlin: artists, founders, investors, all much, much more likely to be neurodiverse, up to 40–50%, which comes to my hypothesis that the brains of the people living in the city define the city. But there's a third group: refugees, homeless people, unemployed, 1/3 of neurodiverse people. I mentioned that because it shows the spectrum. Everyone else has a potential, and if it's not nurtured or put in the wrong way, it could lead to catastrophic lives and outcomes. So what could we do about it? I'm not a huge fan of the official diagnosis, because it will only lead to one thing: prescribing Ritalin, which is to 95% the answer our healthcare system gives to this. I strongly believe it's much more about learning, about finding your own pathway. And today is not the right moment to speak about it, but I want to share a few examples. So how is your New Year's resolution going? Hands up, who's still doing it, whatever you plan to do? Who gave up? Oh, I'm the only one. It's maybe because our biggest enemy to change is the innere Schweinehund. And I have to, unfortunately, break it to you. The secret to life and happiness is pretty simple. It's exercises, healthy food, sunlight. So one very scalable, low-cost alternative to Ritalin is every 45 minutes a small workout. Kicks up your dopamine, keeps you concentrated and healthy. As we're in Berlin, I want to share one of my other favorite examples. Berlin is the capital of techno. And for me, my Leonardo da Vinci of music is Ben Böhmer. Happens to be my best friend, but also happens to be that I realized through this work that music has a tremendously positive impact on our brains. It could calm us down, it could hype us up, put us to sleep, and help us to concentrate. So maybe on your way home today, you listen to your favorite artist and see how it makes you feel, and that can actually change the mood you're in right now. We're already at the end, so by now you know the exercise. I want to have you all find a partner, someone sitting next to you, maybe make a quick look, decide who it is. Have a look at the person. Now look at me again. And close your eyes. And think of the eye color of that person. Try to remember it. Now open your eyes again. And now for the next 30 seconds, I want to look into each other's eyes, find out if you have been right. I can see you, so I see if you're not doing it. So do it for 30 seconds. Do it without speaking, in silence. Please do, go on, 30 seconds. It's important that it's 30 seconds. You see the color? Keep looking, don't look away. Maybe you see a mix of colors. Maybe you see a sparkle. Thank you. What happens automatically in our brain is that we smile. Because the intimacy of looking into someone's eyes, looking into his soul, makes us realize that we don't need endless opportunities. We don't need always to seek the new, even if we're in Berlin. Every person, every brain, every soul is endlessly interesting. Also happens to be that even if you ask a neurodiverse person just to focus for 30 seconds, the eyes will flicker. So the next time you have a conversation, just look into each other's eyes and see if it goes more than 3 to 5 times, that person might have neurodiversity. And going back to the original question, who was the person that first came to mind? I was doing also 7 years of child development. in psychology. And what we learned there is that that person not only defines your relationship style and shapes you, normally it's a family member. And the genetics are the pathway to our brain and our life. So, first of all, it's always good to spend time with family. So when you go home, I want to encourage you to try these exercises with that person. For me, it was a pathway to reconnecting with my grandmother. But I gave this talk because I hope maybe I change the life of somebody here in the room. No, I'm sorry. But I also honestly believe that we need to nurture all the people who have these ideas, because it's the only way to deal with the challenges we face. I choose the inflow of 1 million people to Berlin as an example. Surely could have gone done better. But only in a chaotic city, in an open city like Berlin, something like that is possible. And that's why I always strongly believe Berlin is not only a home to me, because it says it's okay who you are, and we help you grow. Thank you very much for your attention.